Happy New Year's, Joe, and Happy New Year's, I guess, to Penn State is in order here as they win their second playoff game in a row as they take down Boise State 31-14. Your instant thoughts on the game?
Yeah, just a quick appreciation for Boise State for fighting as much as they did. They put up more of a fight than some of the other teams that we yelled about saying that they didn't deserve to be there. They still didn't deserve a bye, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I want to talk about the victor and the way that they played. Penn State was able to prevail for a lot of the reasons that we talked about, even in spots where they were playing really messy and inconsistent. Their athletes, their physicality, it took over. Their game plan was straight up, hey, you can run with Ashton Jeanty 30 times if you want. He's not going to get over 4 yards a clip. You're going to have to throw the ball way more than you're used to. And Madsen made some nice throws. Was not enough.
He did.
Right, he did. And it wasn't enough because eventually it led to turnovers. It led to interceptions. It played exactly into Penn State's hand. My biggest thing for Penn State, good win, but dude, I am still really concerned about Andy Kotelnicki's decision-making in tight situations. He was able to get away with some really overly thought play calling in third and short spots where they should have just ran the freaking ball. And they should have been giving the ball to Nick Singleton more. Katron Allen had a good game, but they should have been giving him the ball more. The decision-making and play calling is something that I would monitor for the next matchup that they're going to see, because if they get into this holding pattern, like frozen, slow, second, third quarter, or even a slow start again,
They get blown out.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to win. They're going to get knocked out.
I thought, and forgive me for forgetting who said this to you on Twitter, but I got to bring this up because as I rewatched the game this morning, I thought it was brilliant. I felt like that they were trying to make the game about Drew Allar.
I'm going to figure out who tweeted that at me because I know who it is.
So, look, Allar did not have a bad game, okay? He went 13 of 25, 171, and 3 touchdowns. The first 2 drives were exceptionally good. The deep shot that he took for the touchdown, and then you have Tyler Warren, the outright freak, who I think is the best tight end in the game right now, clearly, who is just a mismatch changer in everything that he does. But, Joe, they sent heat after Drew Allar. He did not make quick decisions. They kept going to these 5-step drops that were ridiculous when they're sending pressure. And to your point, so to validate what you were saying, I could not understand for the life of me why you weren't going to more quick game action when they are visibly trying to send pressure after you. Now, I thought it was a great game plan for Boise State in some situations, but you're 1,000% right. Joe, they should have continued to run the football all night long. Allen had 17 carries for 134 yards. Joe, he's 8 yards a carry.
And then Singleton has the long run at the end. It's like, why didn't you give him the ball earlier like that?
the big run late. And then vice versa for Boise State. You went to Jeanty a little too much in critical situations. Outside the 3rd and 21 run, Joe, he ran the ball for 2.2 yards a carry. Now, I thought Ashton Jeanty made himself a crap load of money last night. He gave you everything that he had. But they tried to focus that game around Drew Allar and their receiving core, who's not that good.
No.
And that's the thing for me. I think you're spot on. But whoever said that in the comments.
It was MT at Recruit the Boot.
Oh, so a Louisiana guy.
Yes,
of course.
Louisiana guy.
Of course, a Louisiana guy.
Ball knower.
And prayers to everybody in the city of New Orleans. But they made everything about Allar, and he did. Joe, this is back-to-back weeks. Back-to-back weeks where offensively in the passing game, something is off unless they're going to Tyler Warren. Look, he had 13 completions. Tyler Warren had almost half the completions. He had 6 catches.
Yeah.
That's the part for me that I'm like, you got to get to – it's Notre Dame in the beginning of the season. Notre Dame tried to, in my humble opinion, get out of their play style. Do what's winning you football games. Why are you getting away from that?
So to extrapolate on what you're saying here, this is so important for like this future scope of if they do see Notre Dame or they see Georgia. they saw a mismatch, which was fair. It was a mismatch that we discussed in the preview, that their secondary just didn't have the athletes. Their outside corners were not good enough to match up one-on-one with any power four receiver. They just didn't have the guys. Penn State was getting separation, but Drew Allar is not that guy yet to place the ball in those tight spots where his guys can go up and win. And those receivers for Penn State are just not elite premier guys that are going to win in those contested spots. Those weren't even truly difficult contested situations that they were dropping those balls, right, and those balls were getting knocked down.
Pause.
They need to, and there's a reason why we always talk about, and the media always talks about, James Franklin's inability to step up in these big games. We're not picking on him, and we're not picking on Penn State. This is another example of that. It's a great win, and I know that Penn State fans might be listening to this thinking like, how are you shitting on us? We won by so much. How can you be saying that? I would hope that Penn State fans, and it looked like some that were covering the team were tweeting in agreement with what we're talking about right now, that the offensive play calling needs to be different. I'm not going to truly say better. It just needs to be different. They need to know and rely on the fact that they've got premier running backs. I mean, I look at the Big Ten championship game as another example of that. They ran so well in that game, and they were slow to get started, so they were already playing from behind. They can't do that if they have a desire to win a national championship. Allar is a truly gifted player, but his pocket presence is just not enough for him to be a five-step drop guy. He's just not.
Well, here's the problem, too. The problem raised itself up. And look, they dominated in the running game. You should have stayed in what we're talking about. Look, they ran for yesterday. They rushed for over 216 yards. Joe, they coming into the game, they were averaging 190 rushing yards per game. Right. And so my point is, you're a top 20 team when you're talking about running the football historically throughout the season. And then you continue to I felt like you continue to get away from it. Now, in the second half, I'll give him this. Kotelnicki said enough is enough, and we're going to run the football. They did. And that's when they started separating. But I feel like, and we talk about this in the offseason so much. I felt like they tried to go in there and blow them out. And then they got caught. Doing it. Right?
It's like when you're playing NCAA and you're like, oh, this team sucks. I'm just going to take a bunch of deep shots. And then you're like, all right, why 100%. Are none of these working?
and you're not doing what got you to the dance.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, hey, man, I'm about to get married, and I'm going to do everything that different that led me to get to this spot. Right? Like, I mean, what are we doing? But I got to give Allar this. Going back and watching this game this morning, I had a different perspective than I did last night. Here's why. Even though he was under pressure, the guys out wide did not get a lot of separation. Outside of Tyler Warren, they didn't get separation. Yeah. So there's always two sides to the story. I thought Allar was making, by looking at where he was trying to go with the football, I thought he was making the right read. They are not open. And I don't care who it is. Whether you're playing Georgia or whether you're playing Notre Dame, either one of those defenses, you're not going to get that type. The separation gets smaller now. You're talking about a really bad secondary, but listening to Boise State's coaching staff this week and at the end of the game, they also have been preparing for this passing attack for a month. And I think that this also gets not talked about. And I just want to be very emphatic with the whole instance of that. Listen, man, they knew that they weren't playing SMU. You knew it. I knew it. Everybody knew it. They were focused on one team. In reference to Boise State, I guess the game was close for a half, I guess. But truth be told, Joe, here's how watching the second half. My God, they got blown out in the second half. They got physically dominated.
Fourth quarter especially. That was when the game was like done.
Well, I mean, they scored early in the third quarter, and I thought Ashton Genty put the team on his back. But again, when you needed to throw the football, and this is the part where, regardless of the SEC Big Ten discussions that we'll have, regardless, if you want to put them in, that's fine. Them being having a bye, and you're going to have Arizona State today is a little bit to me like, come on. And here, Joe, I saw a team in Penn State that went out there and dicked around in the second and third quarter and still physically dominated an opponent. That's the thing for me that I'm just like, man, they played around. And here's, if you're James Franklin, here's another thing. Why am I not trying to get in-game live reps when I know that I can run the ball and start dominating? So James, in his post-game press conference, said this, and I thought it was interesting. He was like, we are trying to get live in-game reps and trying to push the ball down the field and challenge our team. Okay. That also tells me that there's a coach in there who knew we're not losing this football game.
Yeah. I'm kind of tired of rehashing the seeding argument because we know that we're right about this.
But you got
just to reiterate though, Boise State belonged playing in the playoff. They belonged playing in, but imagine if we got to see SMU play Boise State in the first round. That would have been a really fun, exciting game. That would have been a good game. If we got to see them square off instead of I think that there is a picture for a good playoff. It just needs to get shifted, and we got to remove the buys for the conferences. It's fine if Boise goes in there with a Heisman finalist and they lose by 7 or maybe even knock off SMU. Like, that would have been compelling. But the problem is the way that it's set up is that first round needs to weed out the teams that have weaknesses and knock them off, and then send off the next round of competitive teams to then challenge the 4 bye teams that earn those buys. That's not what we had. So I just think that this is the final nail that solidifies the take that I've been pushing, that they need to just rework the seating and remove those auto buys.
I thought Ashton Jeanty showed the country last night that he is a true playmaker. However, I do got to throw this out there. You and I had a discussion yesterday or during the season, what he would look like against a team that had better athletes. And I will admit, my man showed some really, really good stuff last night, without a doubt. I just think that when we talk about moving forward, about this guy should be in the Heisman hype, or we're talking about a running back, you want to know why these awards are quarterback heavy? Because of what you saw last night, right? Like, a quarterback takes over a game and makes it a game. I thought he would. Some of the runs he had, though, man, good Lord. I mean, dude is special. Yeah. But look, man, it is what it is. All right. So Fiesta Bowl, Penn State wins it.
Not shocked.
Not shocked in the slightest. We'll see you guys throughout the day. Y'all have a good one. Peace.